not what should I be doing, but what do I really want? I think that's another part of the feminine is leaning on and relying on community. We get diseased because we are not relaxing into that feminine. I have been forced into learning this.
Today we have Dr. Tara Hogan, who I met in midwifery weekend together. This was like 5 days, right?
It was like 5 days. Yeah.
It was under a beautiful elder midwife, and we bonded there. We truly get to know each other, and we met again in All Women Festival, and we love women. We love all things women. So Tara and I are going to talk about who and what is feminism is all about, and why feminism is a disaster without the masculine energy there. I have done minor in her college, and I'm so eager to learn what you have learned in your college versus your real life experience. Tara, please introduce yourself to us.
Hi, I'm Dr. Tara Hogan. I'm a doctor of chiropractic, but a mother to 5 children. For our topic today, it's something that I have thought about for so much of my life. I think that growing up with just a sister and a mom who was very traditional, my dad worked, my mom stayed at home, she took care of everything. I kind of grew up in this kind of old-fashioned way, I guess people would say. And I kind of grew up thinking and kind of being somewhat of a tomboy, wanting to hang out with my dad, fix things, watch him, be tough. And I grew up as a gymnast, so toughness was a theme in my life. I wanted to be strong, I wanted to be tough. But I think deep down it was I wanted to feel safe and I wanted to feel protected. So I kind of developed this mask of masculinity around myself for protection. Because when you're a tiny little gymnast, like I was, little girl, big men can be kind of scary. So I had a lot of fear, I guess you could say, of, being overpowered. And so I worked out hard. I got really strong. I wanted to learn to defend myself. I wanted to show that I was strong. And so this was started like probably when I was about in high school. I wanted to really be strong. And then when I got into college, it was like even more amplified. Because then when you're this, I had friends that had been forced in situations and overpowered. And so I saw that and it really terrified me. And then I ended up doing an internship with a domestic abuse center and sexual violence prevention center. And I wanted to become this warrior for women. I wanted to become like this protector, and this isn't going to happen to women anymore. And there was this fuel that I wanted protection. And I wanted, but it was through this whole masculine lens, I guess you could say, right? So if I can be tough and protect and raise awareness, and then I'm going to make the world a better place. With more studies and women's and gender studies, I feel a lot of it was teaching, like, what's all the injustice? Like, what can we name injustice? Women are objects. How does this play out? Where are we seeing this? Then when you have that lens, then everything is like this slight against a woman. And so that was who I kind of became. And I was always an athlete. So in college, I was a pole vaulter. So I was, working out really hard and really strong, and, having competitions with the men's team. And, and I had my mantra back then was anything you can do, I can do better. And so, that was my fuel. And I would say I kind of went along and then also dating very hyper masculine men, right? I wanted to feel feminine. So it was like I had to find like the super big, like hyper masculinized man, which isn't always a great thing. I started to kind of recognize that pattern a little bit. And I remember when I decided to date my husband, I was like, he's different. He's not this hyper masculine type person. So I thought, well, this might work out better. This is different. Well, I ended up, getting pregnant and with my first child with him. And that was when everything shifted for me because I've also been like always prayed about like being in touch with myself and my intuition and, having these gifts. They've always been there, whether I've covered them or whatever. But this started speaking more to me as I became a mother. It was like the moment I looked at her, everything started to break down. And so I will say that's kind of like the beginning of where I started really wanting to figure out what healthy femininity really was. So that's kind of my progression and story.
Motherhood brought you down into the feminine world. How was the journey for you?
I went into pregnancy like I was the first pregnant person I ever knew. Um there were not, I was the first of all my friends to be pregnant. So it wasn't like I had watched anybody. So I really didn't have any like preconceived ideas about it. And I will say there was a midwife who came to speak on our campus at our chiropractic college. And she was a home birth midwife, and the Business of Being Born documentary had just come out. And so they showed it on our school campus, and she gave a speech about home birth. And this was before my husband and I went to it, but this is before we even got pregnant. And so to me, I was like, oh, yeah, makes sense. That's what I'll do. Like, I didn't even think about it. And so I just kind of went with, like, yeah, that's what I'm going to do. Then there was another couple down the road from us in chiropractic college with us that we found out about, and they were going to do the Bradley method classes. So we ended up doing like these Bradley method classes with this other couple. And so, yeah, I learned about physiological birth. I was somewhat prepared in knowing what was going to happen, but I wouldn't say like I did like a whole lot of other things to figure out what was going to happen or like even know like what to expect. And so with my first, it was very long labor, 30 hours. And again, what's interesting about this, and it's dawning on me right this moment, is I was trying to masculinely give birth. And so it was like, I am tough. I can do this. I'm going to do this. And in that, there was no softening. So it was like, and it's so funny to me because I remember in Bradley Method, they teach to really relax and go limp and practice just releasing all your muscles. And I remember like trying to force myself to do that. It was not like a real like relaxation, but it was like a like I'm going to relax. Like, and so of course that was like maybe why my labor was so long because I wasn't truly like softening. I was like trying to soften, but I wasn't really softening. And of course, a lot of fear starts creeping up after a long period of time. And I think it was maybe about 28-hour mark. I've been pushing for 4 hours already, which was way too early. I looked at my home birth midwife and I said, do I need to go to the hospital? And she was like, no. And she was such a cool cucumber. She was just like, no, this is your first baby. You just need to just keep going. So she was so like assuring and eventually, and then we thought maybe like my pelvis was misaligned being a chiropractor. We called our chiropractor to come check me, but it was just funny because once I was told that I was fine, and then it was like I finally kind of surrendered. Then it was like, okay, there's movement. Then she emerged pretty quickly after that. But, it's funny because it just dawned on me like how I was trying to deal with it in such a masculine way instead of like surrendering into that process. But yes, so then I have this little baby and I'm looking at her and I'm thinking, wow, like, what a hugely important task I now have because I'm still in school. My goal was to become this self sufficient doctor. And now, in the middle of that, I have this little being that is the most precious thing in the world. And it's my job to assure that she becomes a wonderful human. And it dawned on me, it was like, well, that's the most important thing is being her mother. Then it was like, it just was one of these like no brainer things like, oh, yeah, like this is so important. I'm not going to give up. And I'm not like, I'm kind of like this person where if I like have a goal to do something, I'm going to do it. And I was like, I'm not going to give up on chiropractic school. I'm going to lighten my load. I split things in half, this is like the feminine, right? We're going to take on a little bit less. We're going to try to like soften and ease and move. And that's exactly what I did. And ended up, I'm not saying like it didn't make it any easier. Like I definitely had to work hard and I was going to achieve my goal and become a doctor of chiropractic. But I feel like I was able to do that also because I had my own mother there for me. She was there in town to help me with my daughter. So I was able to reach out for help. And I think that's another part of the feminine is leaning on and relying on community. And so I was lucky enough to have that support there as well. And so yeah, it was just like that was that motherhood moment that just shifted that for me. And it was like, well, maybe, this is not the way. This forcing masculine way. This is not the way. Yeah. And so it's just something I've just thought so much about my whole life.
So, what happened? It was really an interesting transformation from a girl who loved her masculinity because of her environment, and consciously you chose the protection portion in your college, knowing what you're knowing, seeing what you're saying,
Mm-hmm.
and then motherhood hits you. You consciously chose a different kind of man, and there's no label for that man. He's just not as masculine as the other people that you have dated. By choosing him in your personal life, of course motherhood came along. I just wanted to understand that portion, your
Mm-hmm.
husband and his transformation or his existence in your life, in your marriage. How did that change you and welcome the femininity in you?
This is really a good question. This is getting me to reflect on some good things. It's an ever evolving process because we have been married for 17 years now, and he grew up with all women. So he grew up with sisters, and his mom was a single mother for a while. So there's a dynamic there of healing that he's had to do with the feminine. So it's funny because like we realize we in certain ways have some roles reversed where we're like, well, we're not like the normal couple because I've kind of got this over masculine thing. You kind of have a little over feminine thing. Like, so like in typical situations, if you read like relationship books, we're like, oh, well, that's mixed up for us. But it's something that still, I'd say, is really evolving in our relationship. And just being like spiritually conscious and knowing the power that masculine and feminine have when they're balanced and they're working together and we own a business together, like we are practicing chiropractic together, we're raising children together. There's a lot we have to do together, and it has definitely been a struggle. We've been thrown into, we are going to figure this out and we are going to heal these woundings essentially. Right this very minute, we are doing a couples, like a virtual type retreat with Kim Anami. I don't know if you've heard of her, but we're doing her one of her salons, and we're right in the middle of it right now. And it is like, it is bringing up, we're working through a lot of things. So like right now in this point of time in my life, we're still like really trying to deprogram and figure out where we blocked some things off, and working to find what this sacred union is. I think we both know it's a thing and achievable, but like we're still trying to figure it out. So yeah, it's still like, and I think when you've been so programmed as we have been by society, it's so deep, it runs so deep. And if you think about birth, For instance, how programmed we are with, how things should be in birth, and you should listen to your doctor and you should obey blah, blah, blah. It's the same thing. Oh, this is how you should be in society. You should be a working woman. You should contribute. You should, you know, um, you know, raise your kids this way or whatever. Like all of the shoulds, right? Like that's another thing, I think growing up, it's like I'm trying to process, what do I really want? Not what should I be doing, but what do I really want? And that's been, I'd say, I've really looked hard at that in the last 5 years of my life and really figure out like who I am. Every time I had a baby, I feel like I changed into somebody new. So it's like, who the heck am I now? After the fifth baby, and he's now two, it's like I'm starting to see this other new version of myself. And so that's part of like what Kim and Ami is saying in the program right now is like you're either growing together and your relationship is going to keep being exciting because you're growing and you're changing, or if you're not, then it's boring. But yeah, that's I think it's just something that we're going to continuously be working on figuring out.
That is how life is. We don't think what is next. Who am I? Instead of asking who am I, I've always heard my guru say the biggest lie in spiritual world is they think who am I? But the truth is everybody wants to know what is next. That is the truth.
Mm.
Nobody is figuring out who am I. They are figuring out
Oh,
what is next. It's the sum of what you
oh,
just said, right? You became a
yeah.
new person. Every single birth stripped you down, give you a new identity. And
Yes.
you go into that process of asking, who am I? But your life shows that you're living what is next.
Oh,
Isn't that true?
wow. That is so true. I love that. I love that. Yeah. And I think too, and that's something that my husband and I we want to be very intentional with our lives. We're hoping to have like a hand in what is next for us by writing down our goals and visualizing and working to create that and work towards that. So I'm gonna have fun thinking about that.
My next question will be about life altogether, going back to your birth and how you had your mother being a woman who's still studying, who became a mother, who have three generations of women in the house for the first time in your life, having her support. Just
I think that when I was in the thick of it, I wasn't aware or conscious of the importance, or like I wasn't aware of how big of an impact or that was on me. I guess I could say I was a little ungrateful. Um like I think I just had this expectation, but still at that point in time, I'm like transitioning into like being a mother and having my mother help me and starting to see like the value and the worth. Cause I think that to me, it was like, well, maybe my mom didn't have a whole lot of value or worth because she just was a stay at home mom. So I think that later on, as I've kind of grown up more, I've seen that what a beautiful gift it was that my mom was able to be there for me in that time. And I think, divinely it was set up that way so that I could have that lesson and I could have her help. And I have been also like, well, I'm just going to do it all myself. I've definitely been a person that I'm like, I don't need anybody's help. I'm going to do it all myself. Now, with 5 kids, that's impossible. Like that, I have learned that lesson. I ask for help. I employ an army of people around me. I have this just wonderful support now that, I didn't have when I was a younger mother, and it was very hard. I made it very hard on myself not asking for help, not having community, not trusting other people. But I'm very thankful for being able to kind of look back and see like how much my mom did do for me in those early moments of my child's life. It's just really special and important. I'm very thankful for it now. I don't think I was back then, but I'd say I am now.
So going back to your studies, you studied about feminism or femininity in the category of women's study, right?
Right.
How
Yeah.
is that study and whatever you read in book, whatever been taught to you in a silo of a university or college versus your real life? How do you compare it?
It's been kind of a long time ago. I graduated college. Now it's 2025 in 2005. So it's been 20 years. So, and I've kept some of those books. I need to go back and read through them and see what I would agree with or disagree with now. Cause I knew I was like, I'm going to come back to this. Cause I want to really see. I'm trying to remember some of the things I wrote about. Um, let's see. I remember writing about my final paper was about women in cinema, and I did a whole like analysis of the Kill Bill movies. You know those movies? Like these women warriors, ruthless, bloody, just super violent. I wish I had the paper I wrote to know what I wrote because I can't remember. But I'm sure I felt like it was glorified and justified. Yeah. I'm trying to think about, let's see, because my whole paradigm has shifted so much. Just also learning, being a doctor of chiropractic, our whole premise is in the whole philosophy is based on nature or innate intelligence, your body knowing what to do, your body healing itself. And a female body is different than a male body. And a female body knows how to nurture a baby. A male body does not know how to do that, right? And so for me, I just like kind of live in this realm of what is divine mother's natural process and how can I live in alignment with that? How can I learn more about being a creator, being a receiver? These are things I'm thinking about a lot more in my life because I keep telling my husband, you're the transmitter and I'm the receiver, and I think sometimes when we're not energetically aligned with things, I'm like, well, I'm receiving this transmission and it's making me feel upset. Yeah, I think it's another thing I've like had to learn is like to not bury my emotions, to not be like a brick wall because I got really good at like shutting out all feeling. That would be, I'd say, another aspect that's awoken within me in more recent times is not just not reacting because I had learned to kind of shut everything down, wear a mask, act a certain way, be tough, show no emotion, which is, kind of a toxic masculine trait. And so that's another dynamic that's like really recent for us working on is like me expressing my emotions, but like him being okay with that. And I think like, men who can handle like I feel bad because like I feel like I'm a lot. Like I have a lot of emotion, right? I think a lot of women do feel that way, but I think our men have maybe not been trained or had a visual with how to deal with that. And then having boys, this is a whole nother thing I'm thinking about. It's like, well, raising my sons, like how can I help harbor like a healthy masculine? And what's really interesting is like having a 14-year-old boy, 11, and then 2-year-old boy. What's really interesting is my 14-year-old boy, he's always been really sensitive to other people's feelings, like kind of sensitive himself, but it's like this huge gift. Like, but he also is like really very into protection. He's very wanting to be a protector. I mean, I didn't expect to have a child who was into guns or shooting, but he really is. And I really think it's like this deep need for survival, protection. He's very into outdoors stuff like building shelter, making fires, finding edible food. Like you could say he's almost like on his way to becoming a prepper, which is all on his own accord. These are his interests. But I see that it's almost coming from like this place of he wants to protect. He has like stashes of food in his room and like he is like wanting to make sure that he's protecting, and I see this, I almost feel like it's a biological thing for him to be like prepared and take care of us. But with that, it comes from like, I feel like this place of sensitivity. Whereas I look at my 2-year-old son versus like my 5-year-old daughter, the more recent times, I'm looking like my 5-year-old daughter is a spitfire. You know, she is feisty. And then my 2-year-old son is like, he's so sensitive. And he's like, if his feelings get hurt, you know, and I think I've always just kind of like wanna, I stand back and I observe and I watch things play out. I'm never trying to exert their their natural reaction to things or processing of things. I'm just curious. Like I think that's what I love having so many children is like I find it so interesting to observe the differences between girls and boys. How do they adapt to things? How do they respond to their environment, to people, to situations that happen? How do they process it? What's a feminine way of processing something? What's a masculine way of processing something? And like, what's like the natural thing that's coming out of them that if I stand back and I don't interfere and I don't place any of my, well, this is how you should handle that, or this is, you know, what does it look like? And sometimes it's really surprising to me. Um, to just see what happens. I think that as they grow up, I'll maybe have more to even say about what I observe or what I'm thinking. But right now I'm just kind of like in the middle of this, in the middle of motherhood, just in awe and just watching like this whole thing play out in front of me, like watching them come into their own beings. It's really cool.
That's a amazing life arc that you have right in front of you. In my
Yeah.
culture, we just believe that men and women have both this energy in them, masculine and feminine, and they are in the form of Shiva and Shakti, and they have a form, an energy form,
Mm.
which is the half of each other. They really worked together to become half of each other. So in my culture, in Sanatan Dharma, we don't have that toxic masculinity. We just say, oh, you're leaning into your masculine side of you. Oh, you're leaning into your feminine side of you. And that becomes the integrated part of our life. There's no confusion. The word
Wow.
of toxic did not really exist. Like my 3 years old, she's doing her feisty, throwing things up and going ooha ooha and doing riding bike in the dirt jungle. That's like, yeah, that's who you are with. You're with your father, and he's teaching you that. Obviously, you're going to bring out that side. It doesn't mean you are not going to sit and cook and play with flowers. She does that too. And she can even plant a mango seed and dig it out again. That's how they are. So
Yeah.
I came from that place, so I've never like tried to figure out, are you being toxic? Are you too much? You're just you because you have both inside you. If you have a reflection on what I just shared, you can go ahead and share.
Yeah, I love that so much because, oh, I love it so much because I feel like I have this saying that I have adopted, and it's everything is all right. It's all right. And I think growing up in my family, there were certain ways that you had to behave or do something. And it really made me kind of try to fit myself into this box. But with this idea, it's like, it's all right. There's nothing bad or toxic. It's all right. We are human. This is a, you know, like by labeling something negative, it's, you know, it's not helping anything. But when you look at it as like, this is a normal human spiritual processing of I just like that so much better. It's like, well, yeah, what side are you leaning? It's like we're kind of on this teeter-totter. We're playing over here and feeling this energy out, or we're playing over here and feeling that energy out. And that's all we're doing in life anyway, is just kind of feeling through and navigating and balancing at whatever point in time we're at. So I really, really love and appreciate that.
Going back to the whole masculine journey that you had from childhood to your whole arc until you reach your motherhood, how did men hold this space for you?
How did they hold the space for me? I think that, well, my dad grew up in his father was very hardened, I guess you could say. But a lot of men of that generation were very hardened. They were very unaffectionate, very tough, a man's man. Like my dad grew up, getting kind of whipped by a belt if he didn't behave, like that tough love. And so he was very hurt by it. Like the way he would talk about it, I feel like he would be very hurt by it. And I think with my own dad, I wanted to spend time with him, so I feel like it was kind of what I would do is I would want to do the things he was doing. So he's out fixing something, he would kind of rope me in and tell me what he was doing, and he would explain everything. So I did get a lot of good like mechanical awareness about things, and I can fix things, and he taught me a lot of things. And I think it's interesting to think about my dad as a parent of two daughters as well. And I think learning to soften for us, which I know that he did. But I think too, like being raised in an environment where, it was very conditional and could be very physically scary, and him kind of I could see where he was maybe kind of battling that and trying to raise girls, because there were moments when I think he would lose his temper and he would yell at us, or you know say things that weren't super nice, or like kind of belittling. And I could see that, like, growing up the way he did. And I can see that coming from like passing down from his father's lineage. And then I could see, like, on the other side of it from my mother's lineage, like that also, like her mother, and like the non-support that she had coming from her mother. She was, had to check out emotionally because of the way her mother treated her. So it's like I love being able to kind of see this in my lineage, and I think that I'm very aware and conscious of it, and I have a lot of like love and respect for my parents because they didn't have it easy, and I don't blame them, but I can totally see why things happened the way they did, or like why I needed to experience certain things. So I have an appreciation for kind of how I was raised. And if you had asked me that maybe 10 years ago, maybe I wouldn't have said that. But I feel like, I don't know, I really find beauty in the struggle at this point in my life. I know that hard things that I've gone through have come into something good in my life. So, if I'm even going through a hard time at any point, I'm like, I always know, like, I'm learning something. There's going to be something in this for me. So that's kind of how I view everything. But like, I can definitely see where, like, with lineage, like what was passed down and like what woundings I'm still working on.
Have anyone who came into your life later after your parents have actually held the space in a way that you felt healed?
Yeah. Well, okay. So two people. Well, my grandmother, my dad's mother, has definitely been just a huge light in my life. And even when she passed, it's like I have such a strong connection with her daily. She's with me daily. and guiding me. And she is like a confirmation to me every day. But then actually my kid's piano teacher, she is 80 years old, and she gets me. And she's just been a beautiful guide to me. I'm so thankful because she is such a positive, I don't know, she's one of these like intuitive fairy godmothers that like she sees me and she like won't even start the piano lesson with my kids, and it's like she feels the need to impart some like major like spiritual gift on me. Like she'll do this every once in a while. It's just funny to me, but like, and she'll tell me, she'll tell me this wonderful story, and then it's like she gives me like this little homework and reflection, and it's just a beautiful relationship. But she's worked as a counselor, a Christian counselor for a long time, and she's taught piano for so many years, and she is just one of these people, lives outside of the box, is super just creative and connecting, and she has like given me all of these tools in my life, with my children, with the children in my practice. At work, I have a lot of challenging children in my practice who have behavioral issues, and she's given me so much insight on working with this population of kids, and even in just like my family. And I mean, I just never know where it's gonna. She's so much more than my kid's piano teacher. She is one of my guides in my life. And I had a dream not too long ago that she was teaching me to sing, and it's in every way in my life. She is teaching me to use my voice. She's teaching me how to be. And so, like, she's just one of these people I'm super grateful for, that, I don't know, just kind of magically appeared in my life 2 years ago. And
That is amazing. It's always nice to have someone who got your back, who is willing to listen to you, who you intuitively know that they get you. Isn't that a wonderful
yeah,
gift? For me, it's the
it is.
most amazing gift compared to money, compared to anything you have out there. It is the most amazing gift that money can't buy, is someone having your back. That is what community does. That's what friendship does.
Yeah,
That is what mentorship, any kind of relationship that you consciously choose to have, from your parents to your husband to your kids and to anybody who walks into your life. When you ask for certain things in certain way, they appear because you truly needed that. The spiritual
yeah.
guidance that you have in your life, Tara, is huge, and I love that journey. I love that reflection that you just had. And I want to know about the vulnerability as a woman who have always consciously chose masculinity in her life. How did you come about being vulnerable?
Oh, I have to think about this. I would say I would say the troubles that I've had in my marriage. That's probably the biggest thing. I mean, gosh, when you're married to somebody, it's like they are your mirror. I just I saw this really amazing post about mirrors in history, and how people are mirrors in your life. And there's no bigger reflector to you than your partner. And so I would say I'm still very deep in that work of, and so is he. We're both really working to figure out like, how can we be more vulnerable? How can we show more of ourselves to one another? How can we be more supportive? How can we stop hurting each other because we're refusing this vulnerability? I think like I'm still very much in that work. So, and I think it's just honestly like comes from having one of my kind of core values be courage, because it takes so much courage to like do the thing you don't want to do or reveal to me. My husband's always saying, "You're so mysterious," which I love. But in that, it makes it hard for him. Um, there's not a lot of vulnerability in being mysterious. So that's something like I'm working to kind of, because whenever he's vulnerable with me, I am like so thankful and I love it. And I'm like, oh my goodness, I'm so glad like you share that with me. And it makes me love you so much more. So if I can remember that that's the effect it has on me, you know, I can have that effect on him and I want to give him that. Uh, so yeah, I think that is like a gift of vulnerability. Um, for sure.
Yeah, I had a talk with a hypnotherapist. She just said, if you want to be vulnerable, you just need to bring your awareness to it. Instead of feeling that I have to feel safe in order to do this,
Mm,
you just bring your awareness to your body to say, I'm going to be vulnerable. And that awareness itself is like a magic. So this
wow.
reminded me of that lesson. And actually, when she said that, it kind of like melted some heavy iceberg in my brain, like kind of melted. It just felt really cool and relaxing. It's like, yeah, I can do that now. Just bringing that awareness to say that I'm choosing vulnerability. People might say like it's a woo woo thing, but consciously when you do
Mhm,
it, because you already felt how is it to receive. And of course, you will be able to give it back because
mhm.
both of you guys are mirroring each other, anyways.
Yeah.
So in this modern world, in the world where in US women are always or modern women, not only in US, everywhere, women who
Mhm.
love to go out there, who are not like their mothers, who wants to have everything. If you want to tell them how they can lean into their femininity versus masculinity, reflecting back to your journey, if you want to tell them something, what would you
Yeah.
say?
Oh, this is such a good question. I feel like when we ease into our femininity, it's so healing because we've been so cut off from it. We've been so go, 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 do, 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 rush, rush, rush. That was me. Oh gosh, when I just had two little ones, when my oldest two were little, I remember my daughter saying, "Why are we rushing so much?" It was like that, and that constant anxiety of having to be everywhere and do everything, um and it's so it's like so like causes this dis-ease within us as women, right? Like we get diseased because we are not relaxing into that feminine. So, and I honestly could say, like, I have been forced into learning this throughout my life. It's like because I've like prayed for answers, because I've been worn down. I've been over it. Like I have, been at the bottom, like somebody help me. And what has kind of arisen from that, from these prayers of like, give me answers. What can I do? It's in the non-doing. It's not what can you do, it's like what can you be, what can you relax into, what measures can you take to be in your beingness. So that's what prompted me to create this method that's called the poised and peaceful method that I am just putting on my online workshops for sale. And it's just this method of all these ideas that I've like gathered throughout these last couple years of my life in releasing control, releasing, and really becoming the observer of yourself and your family. And I talk in this program about the family nervous system and how the mother is like, we are like the creator of this family nervous system. Your nervous system is your brain, your spinal cord, your nerves. It controls everything. Well, the mother is, if you are frazzled, you are putting that out onto your family. They are going to feel, they are getting that energy. They are going to react and respond to that. And so, with that, um, I've kind of learned to calm my nervous system because that's what kind of branches out in into the rest of your family. But going back to, kind of like this femininity practice of like being, it just takes like this, I guess, acceptance. It takes acceptance of what is, and then intention of what, then putting that out of what you want. So, but it's not like you're gonna, you still gotta move and do things, but it's more coming from a place of being. It's really hard to describe. I'm doing my best to describe, but I really feel like this more feminine energy. It's in being, it's in flow, it's in creating. And it's not creating it from a place of like, I have to do this. It's creating from a place of relaxation and because we want to. I follow a lot of Kelly Brogan stuff. Have you heard of Kelly Brogan? And she's talking a lot about masculine and feminine, and she's really like intriguing me the way she's talking about the way women should work. Kind of this place of you're working for fun, and letting your male counterpart be the provider. And I will say that is that has been a struggle for me because when my husband and I opened our office, our practice, he works 4 days a week. I only work 2 days a week, 2 mornings a week. I do not work as much as him. He takes care of all of the business side of things. He takes care of a lot of the paperwork stuff, the taxes. He does all that, and I come in and I get to be the fairy that I just get to take care of all the babies and the pregnant mamas and all the women. And it's like, because I never really knew that he created that opportunity for me. And so like, I kind of resented it in the beginning. Every time I kept having babies, it was like, I'd have to go out of the practice and I would lose my momentum of building my practice. And it was like by the fourth and fifth babies, I didn't care anymore. I knew that this is how it's supposed to be. And I reveled in like this reinvention process that I got to do. After this baby, my practice is going to change. I'm going to change it like this. I'd have time to reflect. I'd create more space for how my family is going to function. I'd change my hours to accommodate what I need to do with my kids. And I probably won't ever stop working 2 mornings a week until my kids are much older. They need me right now. They need me to come to their sports events. They need me to be there for them at this point in time. And I fully I would say it took me until the 3rd kid to fully accept that, because it was like when I got pregnant with my 3rd, I remember being disappointed. Oh, I'm gonna have to take off work. Oh, it's like this. I like by the 4th one, and I had her right before COVID, and it was like this giant, like, I don't know, I just felt like fairy dust was sprinkled on everything, and I got to fully like reinvent everything. When I go and we built out a new office, and like it was like I got to come back into my practice totally transformed and reinvented, just to have that flexibility. Like I think that's what that's what like that divine masculine feminine counterpart can be. He's got the container. He's contained our clinic, and I get to come in and do my creation. Um and up until like recently, I didn't get that it's actually working out. This is a divine way of doing and being things. I don't need to be the breadwinner. My kids need me. And I think for a long time, it was like, I need to know how much money I'm making. Like, I need to know I'm worth this. And that's just not where my worth lies. Not in the money, it's in the human beings in my house. That's the worthiness is that's the big deal, is helping support these humans to be the best, most loving, caring, successful, happy individuals that they can be.
Yeah, I think you're doing the most natural way, not right, the most natural way. Whether it's
Mhm.
your work or your way you're being with your children, Because you're doing this practice on your own, you're not working for someone else. You have the time to reflect and be the creatress, be the Shakti, the energy, the female. She creates. Men are definitely the container who contain your
Mhm.
energy. That is
Mhm.
my spiritual life also. So you are doing this because you're symbiotically created this invitation together with your husband. If
Yeah.
you go back to the path and say, hey, I'm going to do this and we are doing this together, high chances you will see what you're doing is also contributing because perhaps he can't do what you're doing for sure, right? He can't be the mother or the nurturer because it doesn't
Right.
come naturally for men. They're just not wired like that. Just like
Mhm.
women. If she understands her flow tells so much. If you can create a child during your ovulation, your fertility window, it means you can create any kind of project during that 1 week. And if you manage your time just like that, you will be creating more than your husband. You probably will finish 5 years text paper in just that 1 week because you're creating a baby during that time. Imagine
Yeah.
transferring that energy into your creative project. There is no way a woman really need to sit and cry to say, I can't do this. You can if you're
Yeah.
conscious about it. The word that you say, Tara, that's the magic word. Play. It's what we do the best. Women are great in playing, and men are not so
Mm.
much unless they're playing with their child or they're playing in a sport. They need to have
Yeah.
someone else to play with. But women, we can just play
Oh,
in our life. The way we play,
wow.
just like you said, the softness, the slowness. When you're in your luteal phase, you consciously bring in the slowness, and when you're in a follicular place, you consciously bring in the whole energy. It will speak to you. You can't
Yeah.
just sit there and do nothing because
Yeah.
you can create a child at that moment.
Yeah.
You can create a child. You are the creatress. Your husband need to work. He need to wait until you are ready. And
Yeah.
he's going to be consistently who he is. But you're a moon. We are all moons, right? We just have
Mhm.
our places. And if you're conscious, we will get it all. That has been my question so far.
Yeah, I just wanted to add because this idea of play, it's like, oh man, I had such a it was like for so much of my life, I'm like, I'm not playing around. Serious. I've been so serious. I guess you could say that's almost the opposite of play. It was like play, what am I gonna get done with that? You know? I had a very, very negative relationship with play. And so I just love that you brought that up. Because I think I am healing my relationship with play. And I think that a lot of us could benefit from that and just relax into that. So I love that. But yes, I feel like this has been such an amazing conversation. I love your questions. They're so good. And it's really even like brought me some more deeper reflection on things in my life. So I have loved this conversation.
Thank you so much, Tara. It's been a pleasure to have you. Thank you for accepting my request and coming on my podcast. I've learned a lot from you today, and I can see the world is a reflection of you. And I hope they will listen to your conversation and come and play with you. And
Yeah.
everyone who's listening, if you're interested with Tara's new program, I will leave her information in the description. Do reach out to her. She's amazing. If you need any information about how pregnancy is, what is home birth, anything to do with your body, she's an amazing conversationalist. Reach out to her and she'll be happy to help you. Tara, thanks again for your time and I will see you again.
Absolutely.